Alrighty, fellas. I need to make sure my mic and everything works. Probably hop on the stream real quick. I have been grinding these graphics out for the past hour now. Fellas. I need to make sure my mic and everything works. Probably hop on the stream real quick. I have been grinding these graphics out for the past I should probably mute my YouTube channel on my actual side part so I'm not hearing myself talk. Make my mic a little bit louder here. Actually, never mind. It's the highest I can go. There we go. That might be a little bit louder. Should be better. A whole 9 viewers coming to watch Oregon State get ranked #1. I know y'all are here for it. Give us one more minute here and then we'll get started. Obviously, a lot of big questions here. Probably one of the biggest ones being that final playoff spot at #4, whether that goes to Wisconsin or North Carolina. Then obviously we have the #1 seed spot to see if it's going to be the Oregon Ducks or the Missouri Tigers. And then, of course, the most prominent... Trey, will you shut up? The most prominent bowl matchup, obviously, the Burger King Bowl, which everybody is extremely looking forward to seeing who will make that bowl. As you can see, the selection show graphic at the bottom of your screen on the ticker. Oh, never mind, it went away. Well, I was gonna say it was only a half hour off, so I'm proud that we got that pretty good. But anyways, without further ado, I'm proud to welcome you all to the selection show that I have pieced together in about the past 30 minutes. And we can start things off by answering one of those first questions: who the #1 team is gonna be for the season 2 UCFL playoffs. And then that #1 team taking a #1 seed is going to be the Oregon Ducks at 6-1, 53 votes for that top spot. They're going to be taking part in the Google Bowl for the second season in a row, actually. They won last year's Google Bowl. Looking for back-to-back Google Bowls. Pretty big accomplishment there. One of the most prominent bowls in UCFL, if that's the right word. Oregon had 4 votes for first place after they beat their conference rivals, Syracuse, in the conference championship game, 42-27. So might be some controversy around that one. Rainbow Six Guy didn't have a great game. Only went 26 for 64, 688, 5 touchdowns, won it. Not up to his standard, but still a pretty solid game nonetheless. And now on the opposing side to have the advantage in the Hawaiian Bowl, which is the first year of Hawaiian Bowl being a playoff matchup. It's going to be the Missouri Tigers, 51 votes, and that puts them just 2 votes shy of Oregon for that top seed. It was one singular ranking that decided that right there. Going 5-2, they beat #3 ranked Wisconsin 88-31. One of the best defenses in the league by a long shot. The fewest points allowed by I think about 100 or so. But pretty impressive game right there. And obviously we saw them all absolutely dominant in the conference championship game against Wisconsin, which sealed the deal and also made us all wonder if Wisconsin was going to miss the playoffs here, which we're about to see very soon. And of course, Missouri, they lost the Google Bowl last year, so they were out of the playoffs. They also lost their conference championship game. But as we can see, the 2 conference championships making the 1 and 2 spots. And now for the #3 team, who will be facing Missouri in the Hawaiian Bowl. It's going to be #3 ranked Syracuse at 4-3 with 42 votes there. Pretty impressive from Syracuse. Had a great season behind transfer from Notre Dame, Minion. Head coach Michael definitely pieced that team back together pretty good. A lot of controversial losses and a lot of pretty standard dominant wins that kind of kept them all in contention. They did just drop their conference championship game to Oregon. And Oregon has that 1 seed, obviously. It looks a lot better for them. But all comes down to that matchup against Missouri, which is in the Hawaiian Bowl. So interesting to see a team that's just under 500 in that 3rd spot. Obviously, they've had one of the best offenses and defenses. Not one of the best, but above average for both of those sides, allowing them to be able to be dominant on both sides of the ball in most games. But obviously, just coming off of an FFC Conference Championship loss in the second season in a row to the same team, Oregon. But a pretty big step up. They did not make the playoffs last year. That should be noted. And of course, in the CFP rankings, they were ranked 1 at one point, and they've slowly fallen down to about the 2nd rank in the past couple of seasons, and then all the way down to the 3rd rank here, as we see after that loss against Oregon. And now for probably the most questioned position in the last, I'd say 3 or 4 hours, maybe about 2. It's been on the top of all of our heads after we saw Wisconsin drop their conference championship to Missouri, whether North Carolina would get a shot. Now, between North Carolina and Wisconsin, the number 4 spot, the team who will be facing the Oregon Ducks in the Google Bowl, the most famed bowl in UCFL, for a spot in the national championship, is going to be the Wisconsin Badgers. At 5-2 with 33 votes, they're going to make it in to the Google Bowl. And now, there's your playoffs at the very least. We've got, obviously, Oregon Ducks and Wisconsin Badgers in the Google Bowl. And then, mind you, that is a national championship rematch from last year. And then, of course, we've got the Missouri Tigers and the Syracuse Orange in the Hawaiian Bowl. Should be noted, Syracuse Orange did beat Missoula earlier this season. So we'll come back to this in a moment, but right now we're going to look at the remainder of our bowl games. Let's shift on over here. Now, this isn't a bracket, this is just simple bowl games. So we've got the 5th seed versus the 6th seed, and then the 7th seed versus the 8th seed. The 5th and 6th going to be in the UCFL Rose Bowl equivalent, the Azalea Bowl. Then, of course, the 7th and 8th seed get into the most famed bowl in UCFL, the Burger King Bowl. So let's shift on over here. No point in trying to hide that 5th seed because, after all, we all saw Wisconsin take that 4th spot, and we knew who the other contender was. So North Carolina's Tar Heels are going to fall to that 5th spot, just shy of the playoffs, but in their first season in UCFL, it's definitely something to be proud of. North Carolina going to get a shot at their Big 3 bowl game. The Azalea Bowl definitely going to be a playoff game next year. So this is one of the bowls that you definitely do want to win. One of the Big 3 bowl games. North Carolina had one of the best kind of leverages. They had a positive point difference. I believe that was better than Wisconsin, as a matter of fact, but they lost to Wisconsin earlier this season, drew to within 2 of number-ranked Oregon, but dropped that game as well, and then lost by just 1 score in their game against Syracuse. And it is noted that they lost by 2 votes. Now to look at their opponent for the Azalea Bowl. Quite an interesting one, but we have the number 6th ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. 21 votes for that selection. They were 2-4 on the season. They did lose to North Carolina, I believe, in week 4? Yes, they did. 50-36. However, there was a lot of suspicion on that game. That was a very controversial game. And having the battle of the Carolinas in the Azalea Bowl is definitely going to be a treat there. 2 pretty evenly matched teams. And definitely, as a Big 3 bowl game, it's a lot at stake for that. We'll come back and look at those once we're done announcing the remaining seeds and the going over some of those higher seeds. Now, for the number 7th ranked, who is going to have the home field advantage in the Burger King Bowl, it's going to be the number 7th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Winless this season, 0-6. Second team ever to do so. behind the Season 1 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Placed last in their conference, Ucfl. 0-3 in conference play. Negative 55 point differential in conference play. And obviously they had one of the stronger conferences this year. But definitely interesting to see an 0-6 team who is above, and there's also no point in hiding that the Oregon State Beavers are going to be that 8th seed. But definitely interesting to see that winless team is going to be above a team that beat them earlier this season. So interesting call there from the committee. It is worth looking that they beat Oregon State by one singular vote to get that spot. But obviously, change be changed. Both these teams are going to face off, and we're going to see if the committee got that right or not. But it could be argued that the Beavers are a worse team. So now that we've administered all the seeds, let's go back here and take a look at some of these playoff matchups. It's going to show all of these again real quick because I had them equipped. Whoopsies. I can actually change that real quick, can I? Yeah, I can. Whoopsies. There we go. All right, so looking at... I'm going to do the same for the other one real quick. All right, looking at this top 4, we have, obviously, the Oregon Ducks and the Wisconsin Badgers in the Google Bowl. That's the matchup I want to take a look at first. Obviously, this is a rematch of the national championship that happened last year. A lot of controversy surrounding that national championship last year. It was Oregon won that 62-55 after entering as the underdog. And the reason there was so much controversy around it was quarterback Smalls and current Heisman contender, not to mention team owner and probably the one leading that team, got injured, you could say, in the second quarter of the game and wasn't able to come back until later. And they had to go to their backup quarterback Joseph, who didn't do too badly of a game, but it definitely would have been likely a much different score should Smalls have stayed in the whole entire game. Obviously, we've seen Wisconsin. They haven't done too good this season, but it is worth noting, in week 4, the Wisconsin Badgers beat the Oregon Ducks 57-48. So obviously, that would be an insane upset to happen, but to say it's impossible would be that's just dumb. But I mean, obviously a lot at stake here. Oregon trying to defend their national championship from last season as the number 1 seed going in, and Wisconsin obviously they want their revenge after Smalls disconnecting, and they want it when the stakes are much higher, like in the most famous bowl in UCFL history with a spot in the national championship on the line. So definitely a good matchup to watch there. 2 pretty evenly matched teams. I don't expect to see a high amount of players that game. Likely 5, maybe even 4 players for both teams going into that. But definitely one to look out for. And then on the opposing side of things, we have the Missouri Tigers and the Syracuse Orange. Obviously Missouri, and they're both teams in their second year, as a matter of fact, retaining their head coaches. Emu leading the Missouri Tigers after being eliminated from the playoffs in the Google Bowl last season, to Syracuse. I believe the score, or not Syracuse, Oregon. The score of that game being 72-50. So they seem to kind of hold their ground there a little bit, but they were also without their starting quarterback. It's worth noting. And then on the opposing side of things, we got the Syracuse Orange. Their first playoff appearance. They beat Michigan in the Hawaiian Bowl last year, 49-36. So this is their second Hawaiian Bowl appearance in franchise history. So obviously, even more at stake here. Syracuse trying to go for back-to-back Hawaiian Bowls, Oregon trying to go for back-to-back Google Bowls, and then Wisconsin and Missouri are trying to get their first bowl wins in school history. Ironically, Wisconsin, even though they made the national championship, obviously they had the bye, so they never got the opportunity to play in a bowl game. But regardless, it still leaves them with an opportunity for their first bowl win. So definitely 2 games to watch. No official scheduling on those games yet. I believe it's rumored that they might be tomorrow night at the very soonest, obviously. Or they'll be probably Tuesday. Still yet to know on that. But if we go to the other side here, we have North Carolina and South Carolina in the Azalea Bowl. Obviously, that's a huge opportunity. Pretty Pretty big matchup, an even matchup from both sides, nonetheless. South Carolina 2-4 on the season. UNC 3-3. Obviously, South Carolina they lost to UNC earlier this season, but they've still gotten some pretty close games and pretty solid opportunities nonetheless. And then, of course, on the other side, you have North Carolina, who's probably not the happiest right now based on the fact that they missed out on the playoffs. But nonetheless, they're going to get a shot to prove this year that they belonged in the Azalea Bowl. And for their first year as a franchise, that's obviously a huge victory. So a lot of credit to Lovesick, head coach, for bringing his team this far. And, I mean, their season's not over yet, to say the least. This is the biggest game of their season. So obviously you just need to lock in, put that behind you, and try and get that victory. Then on the opposing side of things with South Carolina, also, again, another improvement for this season. 2-4. And let me remind you that this was Notre Dame. This was entirely a Notre Dame team. They just switched their branding, and Notre Dame was 0-5 last season. Didn't even make a bowl game. So from going to not making a bowl game to a Big 3 bowl is obviously a huge step up for South Carolina. Definitely bright things in their future if they can keep that pace up. Then now if we switch on down to the Burger King Bowl, Alabama, winless. Oregon State, 1 win, which was against Alabama. However, obviously Alabama is getting the home field advantage there. I believe this game is just going to be a home field advantage, not an actual bowl game within the game. So this will be played at the Crimson Tide Stadium, to my belief. If not, I believe it's possible that it'll be played at the Cotton Bowl. I could be wrong, though. But regardless of that, Alabama, 0-6. One of the better defenses of this league, and not to mention every single loss they've had, apart from, I believe, just 2, have been within a score. So definitely not too far out to say that they were a better team than Oregon State, who lost a good amount of games by probably 20, 30, maybe even 40 points or less. However, still, definitely a game to keep an eye on. With that being said, I'm probably going to end this here. I don't believe that we'll do any post-game stuff. I might do some interviews with the coaches later on. Also, yes, the Azalea Bowl is played as the Rose Bowl. Burger King is either going to be Alabama home field or it's going to be the Cotton Bowl. And then I believe the Google Bowl is played as either the Sugar Bowl or the Peach Bowl, and then the Hawaiian Bowl is played as the Orange Bowl in Hard Rock Stadium. So it is interesting. A lot of really good matchups here. Lots to look forward to. With that being said, I think that's going to draw us to a close here. We can switch on back to our previous viewing here with Oregon State, or Oregon, Wisconsin, Mizzou, Syracuse. But appreciate you guys for checking in, and let me know. Spam general chat with all your thoughts on this and whether or not the committee got it right. That being said, going to